What you're going to want to do is, we've got what we call pressure. Pressure is the amount of pressure, obviously, that you're going to put on your hand tool, either by leverage or with a rod. The pressure needs to be, you will hear us refer to through the video, at a 5. 4 7/8 will not work, 5 1/16 will not work. 5 1/16 will push the metal up and straighten up your repair a little bit, but it might be too much, which means you're going to have a high. 4 7/8 will push your metal up, but it won't stay, which means that it's just going to go back into a low. So the key factors to remember here are, on a scale of 1 through 10, you need to be exactly at a 5, okay? The other thing is, when you're doing a dent, you have to be, if this is where you're going to need to be, that's exactly where you have to be. So the two things that you've got to do right now is get your pressure down, and you've got to be able to find the tip of your tool, the two most important factors. Now, we'll also show you what an actual high will look like in the top of the dent as well on as a straight edge. Wipe a little bit of this off. Okay, now let's see here. We can get this. There we go. Now, this is in the top of our light, and you can see how this V's up in the top of the light. That's telling you it's a high. Remember we were talking about the yellow? Also, while the yellow, you're looking at the yellow over here, you see how the yellow is expanded? That's in that big low area that we had. So right through here it comes, right through there. Okay, so remember that yellow line used to be a 1/4 inch here and here. Well, it's expanded here now. So that means you have a low. Anytime you've got shadow, you've got an expanded area, whether it's in your yellow, your straight edge, the top, doesn't matter. Low, anytime you have any type of V, it's what we call a high. You can see the high right here. Now we'll adjust the hood also to where you can see the high on the straight edge, which is right there. Now, you can see how this V's down again, and that's your high. A lot of times when you see dents, you'll see their head going up and their head coming back. And what they're doing is they're checking in the top of the light, maybe working their dent. They're checking their straight edge to see if it's telling them there's any problems with it. Maybe they've got it 90% in the gray area, and they need to read the straight edge because, as we mentioned, it will never lie to you. So that's how you know if you've got a high or a low. Also, too, we call this a high. We also refer to little areas that might be poked up, maybe just a very minute area, as an outie. A high you need to take down with your punch, which we'll give you a demonstration on in a minute. If it is just a small little outie, as we call it, you may want to knock it off with a piece of 2000 sandpaper, which we'll also discuss in the future here. Okay, now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to show you another example, and we're going to see if you can figure out what actually it is. And it'll be in this area right through here. And now, what we're going to do in this area here is a couple of things. We're going to turn the camera off just for a moment so that we can do what we want to do with it, and then we're going to kick it back on and see if you know specifically what it is. We don't want you to see what we're doing. Okay, before we go to the actual working of a dent, we want to give you a little quiz. What do we have right here? You're right, this is a low area. Now, what do we have right here? You can't tell a whole lot as it is right now. You may want to move your head up, move your head back, which means you're actually moving your light. So if we go just a little that way, what's happening? We have a V, don't we? Okay, let's double check it and take it the other way. Now, you can see it also coming down and Ving this way. So when you put it on a straight edge, you can move your head up and back through the light, just like this. And you can see how it V's down, how it V's up. So that's telling you you have a high. So you've got a high, you've got a low. Now, we'll go to an actual automobile, and we're going to show you an actual dent repair, how to work it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to walk you through it. As you can see, this is the straight edge down here. This is your first bulb. This is your gray area or middle section, which can be any color. This is your top bulb, and this will be your gray area at the top. And as you'll see throughout the training video, the gray area may change a little bit, and sometimes occasionally you'll even get a gray area down here on the straight edge. Now, where you've got your white color here and your dark color here, where that meets, right through here, is the center of your dent. All dents are worked from the center. You want to come in and you want to gradually start massaging right here. You'll move it a little bit, you'll hit it here, you'll move a little and push here, and you'll go back and forth. Once you've pushed a little, the dent will change, as we're going to see, and then it'll determine what area that we will go ahead and work next. Okay, so again, straight edge, bottom bulb, middle section, top bulb, gray area, middle of your repair. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to start moving the dent a little bit, and then we'll show you and talk about it as it happens. The technician now has his tool in, and he's starting to work the dent through the areas that we just talked about. You can see the light flexing, and you can see that the dent is starting to get a little bit smaller. Okay, now let's stop and take a look for a second and talk about it. Here's your straight edge again. Right down here you can see where it's rounded. You can still see the white and the dark, which represents the center of the dent right here. It's a little smaller than it was. We don't look like we have any highs or outies. We're doing fine. We'll go ahead and work on it a little more. In dent repair, the key is to gently massage this dent to put it back into the original condition. We use a scale, let's say of 1 to 10 as far as pressure. We want to be at a 5 on our pressure techniques, not 4 7/8, not 5 1/16. You need to be right at 5. If you're over 5, you could make a high. If you're under 5, you're not pushing the metal enough to keep it up. It'll just flex back in the original condition. Let's go ahead and talk about it for just a second. Alrighty, now you can see the dent's getting a lot smaller. You can also see the straight edge is actually starting to get a little bit more straight. It's not as rounded as it was a moment ago. You can see the dark area, of course, right here. It's gotten very small, and we'll go ahead. Now, this, of course, right through here, once this dent is repaired, the straight edge will be back 100%. All righty, we'll go ahead now and move it a little more. You can see how that light V's together, and as we've mentioned, when the light pinches together, that will also represent a high. So when it pinches together, in effect, he is pushing up on the metal and making it a little high, but he's not pushing it up high enough that the metal will stay conformed in that position, which means it's not an actual high. Metal, of course, has a little bit of flexibility to it, as well as memory, which we'll be talking about further. Okay, now let's go ahead and take another peek at it. You can see the straight edge again, and you can also see how it's getting a little straighter. What you can see is from this point right here to this point right here on this side, it's like a little oblong light gray area. That's telling you that's just a little bit low right in there. But I don't see any highs at this point. I think we're right on track. We just have a small low, and now we'll go ahead and finish it up. Okay, looks like he's doing fine, still just a little bit of a low. Right in that area right there where he's working. Also too, if you'll hold, when you pinch up once, if you'll hold, alrighty, you can see how it's V'd together where he's holding. And when he releases, it's going to be that exact area right there where the low is. So that's telling you that's exactly where he's pinching, is in that area. Also, I'd like to mention dent repairs on top panels is a great idea if you actually work them from two different directions, because you'll find that you might look at it one way and it'll look perfect, and you catch it another way and you might see just a little bit of a low. Now, this repair looks like it's getting pretty close. Let's take a peek. I'm trying to see what this is right here. Okay, I think we have just a little bit of a low still right in there. We'll also go in and tackle. Also too, sometimes if you do make a high, which you'll have demonstrations throughout this video, it might be easier to knock them off with what we call a piece of 2000. Take a piece of 2000 sandpaper or a 2000 sanding block and just go over it lightly, use a little finesse, wipe out the swirls, and might be a better way to take a high down. Because highs sometimes will go back 100%, but about 75% of the time when you make a high and you take it down, it'll go back into a low. Okay. Let's take a good look here and see what we've got. Looks like right here might be a tiny low that sometimes too, of course the car with more orange peel is actually better, because then you have a little leeway. But I'm looking right here, and I'm trying to see if that's just a tiny low, or maybe we're just a tiny high right here. Trying to make that determination now. But as you can see, that straight edge is just almost put back together 100%. And of course, we're sitting here with a camera zoomed way in on this. If you take this repair outside or even take the camera off of it right here, you're going to find that you will not even ever notice this dent. Now that's starting to look pretty good to me. I think this straight edge is looking pretty good. Because this pointer is a punch-all. This pointer and the tip of it, of what I'm pointing at anything right in here, was actually about 1/10 of the size of a piece of orange peel, the actual tip of this pointer. So that gives you an idea how close this camera actually is zoomed in on this repair. So if you're standing back where I was and not monitoring it through this camera, this straight edge is absolutely flawless. And if you even look here, it looks just almost absolutely perfect. This repair is 100% undetectable even from where I'm at right now. This looks real good. What we'll do is we'll take a look at another repair, give you another example. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're in the top of the light. as you can see, the bottom of the light's right here. This was what I was saying earlier about this little straight edge. First bulb, got your middle area, your top bulb, and this is the gray area that I was talking about in the top of the light a moment ago. So what you can see now is this is dark, this is light, that right there is the center of your repair. We're going to watch the technician scratch around a little bit so you can find where his tool is. Okay, looks like he's coming right down the left side, I believe. Now he's coming right down the right side. You can see how that tool goes up and down. What he's going to do is get up in front of it, he's going to drag it right into the repair, and he's going to start working the dent. So he's pulled his tool in, he dragged it right into the middle of the repair, and now he's working. And you can see where it pinches together what he's doing. Now let's stop and take a look. Okay, now what you can see is a light gray shadow right through here. This gray shadow is still telling you that it's just a little bit low. The center of your dent is right here, and you can see how this expands up right through here. And this will be like the straight edge, which will come along and be straight once this repair is finished. This is working a dent in the top of the gray area. A moment ago, we worked it off of the straight edge. Now, some dents you'll see better on the straight edge, some dents you'll see better on the top. I personally would put my repair up in the gray area, drag my tool in to find myself, and I might work it up here and test it down here as a bottom. If you ever see a dent technician, you'll see their head bouncing back and forth because they'll be checking the top of the light, the bottom of the light, and as we're going to get into also, they might even be using this colored area in the middle. The colored area now you can see is 1/4 of an inch, solid straight. If that area right there had a high, we'll have the technician push in that area right there, and we'll show you how that colored area will pinch together a little. Okay, that area he said is under a brace, and we're doing a repair in the open area at the moment. That's okay. All righty, well let's just go back and finish our repair, and he's going to start working it right there in the middle. Now actually you can see right here is where he pushed. He moves and he pushes. He moves and he pushes. Key factor in dent repair. We've talked to you about the pressure of a repair has to be an exact 5, not 4 7/8, not 5 1/16. Has to be right on the right amount of pressure. Okay. Right there I'm looking, and he may have a little bit of an outie right there. Now, there's actually what we call an outie and what we call a high. An outie would be if it's really minor and it's just a little tit sticking up and you might want to sand it with sandpaper and not really take it down. A high is if it's actually high and you got to bring the metal down. But keep in mind, 75% of the highs, when you take them down, they go back into a low. Now, some of these things we may not even see anyway. All right, now I think what he's going to do, he's going to go ahead and work it. Okay, also too, one thing you want to keep in mind is whenever you make a high, you really want to always take your highs down before you proceed with your dent. Okay, now we told him to do that for demonstration purposes. What do we have right here? Looks like a little bit of an outie to me, okay? Let's see, trying to figure if that's an outie or a high. I think he's going to use a punch, and we're going to see if we can take that down. This will be interesting. Let's take a look. Okay, now take a look. Remember that thing that was sticking right in this area somewhere? You really don't see it now. So that worked out pretty good. Now the dent was already in a low, but if the dent had been 100% and he took that high down, we may have another little low. But right now he went ahead and did away with that. We're going to come back. He's going to work this area right in there. Okay, and you can see just about where he pushes. Okay, he's working along. It's looking pretty good. Pressure, of course, is a very critical factor, as well as actually the location of your tool. If you don't know exactly where the tip of your tool is, it can get you in trouble because you can be on the outer perimeters of the dents over here where you do not need to be. So you have to always make sure that you've put your tool in the proper area. And we would like to say that finding the tip of that tool, it takes time and practice. The muscles in your eyes are just like a weightlifter. They have to practice working their muscles, then their muscles get bigger. You have to practice the muscles in your eyes in order to make sure that you zero in on the tip of your tool. You'll find that when you first started working, looking for the tip of your tool the first day, you may not have been within 3 inches. But over the days, you gradually work yourself in. Now you can pinpoint it down. Because as an example, let's look right here and stop for a second. Right now, I see a little piece of dust particle or dirt right here. And watch the technician zero his tool right into that area, just to show you how minute this is. Okay, you see how it's pinching? And he's right in there in that area. He's right on it right now. And that is just a little flaw or dust particle or something in the paint. And look how small that is compared to the end of the tip of this punch. And imagine how small this punch is. So that means this technician knows exactly where the tip of that tool is. And as we've mentioned, he can put that in a piece of orange peel and hit 10 different times without ever hitting the same spot in one piece of orange peel. Okay, now we're taking a look. This repair doesn't look too bad. Of course, we're back up here in the gray area. What you can check is, does the width of this area here look about the same as the width of this area over here? Because the dent was here. So this looks pretty good, I believe. Let's take a look here. Yeah, sorry I got in the way of the camera there. I was taking a good solid look. I think this looks real good. What we'll do is we'll get ready to go for another repair. You can tell we've made a circle, and we're going to actually hit this hood this time with a baseball, and then we're going to measure the dent with a tape measure so you can actually see it. Then we're going to go through, fix it, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay. Well, there's one hit. You can see right here, of course, on your the bottom of your straight edge, you can see this soft area right through here, which is your low. The dent right now is from about here to right here. What we're going to do is I'm going to measure this. Let's see, right now, if I can do this through the camera. I don't know how I can do that. Let's do it this way. That is only, let's see here, if we'd start right there, that's probably about 1.25 inches is all at the moment. Tech didn't like it, he wants a bigger one, so he's going to whale it again. Alrighty, now what you can see, of course, your straight edge right, your straight edge right down here, you can see the distorted part starts right about here. Even though your dent's here, you can see the V, fellas, from right here to right here. So this is actually distorted metal as well. The major portion of the dent, of course, is here, but actually your distortion starts here, and it really runs and truly all the way over to here with the major damage from here to here. And what we're going to do is put a tape in there. We'll have to do it this way so you can actually see it. Okay, from right over here where the distortion actually starts all the way over to where it is about here is about a 3-inch dent, with your the damaged area from here over to about here, which means that's that's a good 2 inches anyway, but again, your distorted area starts all the way back over in here. So really, this thing's about 3 inches all the way across. So again, just as a quick review, while the tech's getting ready, this is the bottom line, which is the straight edge. This would be your first bulb. This would be your middle colored area. That's your top bulb and your top gray area. We're now working this on the straight edge. You can see the white down here and you can see the dark here. This area right through here is the center of the dent. He'll go right probably to the middle, and he'll actually start working back and forth across the middle with the appropriate amount of pressure, not hitting really any more than one time in one spot, with really moving his tool just a little bit. Okay, here we go. You can see how that metal flexes, and you can see what the straight edge does. This repair may take just a little bit longer in order to do it right. Hopefully we're not going to make any highs or outies, but if we do, you can see how we've taken them down. But you can actually see, right there he hit, right there he hit. Hold your tool up there when you hit once or twice. So right there is about where he is. Right there right now is where he is. He's now jumped down in the lower portion. And when you work a dent, you kind of want to work all around the middle area like he's doing right now. You wouldn't want to work just the top area, because you'd bring up half the dent and then you'd have the other portion. What we really want to do is bring the dent up nice and even to where it just gradually starts to get smaller. Now let's stop, take a quick peek. Okay, now what you can see is we're still a little distorted, starting right about here all the way to here. We got a little bit of a gray shadow area right in here, but you can see it's dramatically less than it was originally, which means that repair is probably 75% at this time. All righty, and we'll go ahead and continue to work it. And I'm having a hard time keeping up my pointer with his tool, because you can see how fast he's hitting. He hits, he moves, he hits, he moves, he hits, he moves, and he hits, he moves. Sometimes you might hit a dent, you could go as much as 75 times depending on the dent. But when you're hitting it a couple times per second, it really doesn't take that long. As you've seen us do some repairs for you already, and it's literally done in a matter of minutes. But I would remind you that that takes substantial practice in order to be proficient. Okay, you can see how that straight edge is straightening up real nice. He is working it on the bottom of the straight edge. And again, you can't really see the technician, but his head is actually going up and down. He'll look in the top of the light, he'll look in the bottom of the light, and he'll examine it, make sure exactly the location it is that he wants to work. And as we've mentioned too, it's a good idea to check top panels from two different directions. Now, as we mentioned, this was a pretty large dent. Looks like it's coming out pretty well. I don't see any highs or outies at this time. We didn't count the number of times that we're following him here as far as he's hit it, but as you can, I'm sure you've noticed, he's hit it many times. And every now and then you'll see him stop for a minute, and what we're doing is he stops and he's evaluating the damage, and then he's going to the worst area. So once you start to fix a repair, you step back for a minute and you take a look. His head was now bouncing, and he's looking and he's trying to figure out where the lowest portion of the dent is. Because if he if he goes in and he starts fixing the repair and he brings it up a little, then he'll look and see where his lowest area is. He'll go after that, make some try to fix the repair, and then he'll jump and look again, and we'll continue to always be after the lowest area. Now, what you can see is this straight edge has drastically gotten better as far as putting it back in the original condition here. And we're kind of zeroing in to see, and I hope my head doesn't get in the way, but I'm going to take a look and see if I can see what the straight edge looks like here. Doesn't look too bad. I'm trying to figure, is this maybe a light low, I believe, right through here. It's very minor, but you can see, if you look right here, the straight edge is really pretty defined. If you look right